Picture this. You're standing in a cave deep in the Sahara Desert, your flashlight illuminating ancient rock paintings that are over 10,000 years old. As the beam sweeps across the weathered stone, you freeze. There, etched into the rock by hands that lived when the Sahara was still green and lush, are figures that don't look quite human. Tall beings with elongated heads, strange suits that seem to shimmer in the torchlight, and what appears to be spacecraft. Your heart pounds as you realise these aren't the typical animals and hunting scenes found in most prehistoric art. These look like something else entirely, something that shouldn't exist. Welcome to Mystery History for Sleep, where we journey into the shadows of our forgotten past. I'm Mr. H, and tonight we're diving into one of the most mind-bending questions in human history. What if our ancestors didn't develop civilization alone? What if, tens of thousands of years ago, when humans were still painting on cave walls and learning to control fire, they encountered beings from beyond the stars? This isn't just wild speculation. Across the globe, from the remote caves of Algeria to the hidden chambers of India, from the windswept plateaus of Peru to the ancient rock faces of Australia, prehistoric art tells a story that mainstream archaeology struggles to explain. Images of beings that look nothing like humans, craft that seem to defy the technology of their time, and symbols that appear to describe encounters with something otherworldly. But here's what makes this truly extraordinary. These aren't isolated incidents. We're talking about a pattern that spans continents and cultures that had no contact with each other. Indigenous peoples separated by vast oceans, painting remarkably similar scenes of strange visitors and impossible technologies. It's as if our entire species carries a collective memory of something that happened so long ago. It's been relegated to the realm of myth and legend. Tonight, we're going to explore what the evidence really tells us. We'll journey to remote locations where ancient humans left behind tantalizing clues about visitors from the stars. We'll examine cave paintings that seem to show spacesuits and flying craft, created thousands of years before humans even invented the wheel. And we'll ask the question that could reshape everything we think we know about our origins. Were we alone during humanity's most formative years, or did something guide our species from the darkness of prehistory into the light of civilization? The story begins in the most unlikely of places, deep in the Tassili Najjar mountains of Algeria, where the desert winds have carved strange shapes from ancient stone. French explorer Henri Lotte made a discovery in 1956 that would challenge everything we thought we knew about prehistoric art. Hidden in caves that hadn't seen human visitors for millennia, he found paintings that seemed to come from another world entirely. The images were unlike anything found in other prehistoric sites. While most cave art from this period depicts animals, hunting scenes, and simple human figures, the Tassili painting showed something far more complex and disturbing. Towering figures with round heads that looked more like helmets than human skulls, bodies encased in what appeared to be protective suits, and most unsettling of all, no visible facial features where a human face should be. Lotte was so struck by one particular figure that he nicknamed it the Great Martian God. Standing nearly 6 feet tall when painted on the cave wall, this being wore what looked like a diving suit or space gear, complete with what appeared to be breathing apparatus. The level of detail was extraordinary for art that was estimated to be over 8,000 years old. The artist had carefully rendered what looked like joints in the suit, equipment attached to the figure's body, and even what appeared to be antennae or communication devices protruding from the helmet. But the Great Martian God wasn't alone. Throughout the cave system, Lotte's team discovered dozens of similar figures. Some appeared to be floating or flying, others seemed to be interacting with more normal-looking humans, and several were depicted alongside objects that bore an uncanny resemblance to spacecraft. Disc-shaped objects with radiating lines, elongated craft with what looked like landing gear, and strange geometric patterns that seemed to represent technology far beyond what prehistoric humans should have possessed. What made these discoveries even more remarkable was their age. Carbon dating and stylistic analysis suggested that many of these paintings were created between 8,000 and 10,000 years ago, during a period when the Sahara was still green and habitable. This was long before the rise of any known advanced civilizations, before writing, before metallurgy, before humans had even learned to work with anything more sophisticated than stone tools. Yet here were images that seemed to show not just advanced technology, but beings who clearly weren't human interacting with our ancestors. The implications were staggering. If these paintings were accurate depictions of real events, they suggested that contact with extraterrestrial visitors might have occurred during humanity's most formative period, potentially influencing our development in ways we're only beginning to understand. The academic response was swift and dismissive. Mainstream archaeologists argued that the figures were simply shamanic visions, spiritual representations of gods or ancestors, or artistic interpretations of natural phenomena. They pointed out that many cultures have creation myths involving beings from the sky, and suggested that the Tassili paintings were simply prehistoric versions of these universal human stories. But this explanation struggled to account for the incredible level of detail in the paintings, particularly the technological elements that seem to have no basis in the natural world known to prehistoric humans. How could artists who had never seen anything more complex than a stone axe imagine and accurately depict what looked like breathing apparatus, articulated joints in protective suits, and spacecraft with landing gear? The mystery deepened when similar discoveries began emerging from other parts of the world. In the Kimberley region of Western Australia, Aboriginal rock art dating back over 60,000 years depicted beings called the Wangina, tall figures with large round heads, no mouths, and radiating lines around their heads that looked remarkably similar to the helmet-wearing figures found in Algeria. The Aboriginal people themselves described the Wangina as sky beings, who came from the clouds and taught them important survival skills. Half a world away, in the remote canyons of Utah, ancient Native American petroglyphs showed similar figures. The Barrier Canyon-style rock art, some of which may be 9,000 years old, featured tall, otherworldly beings with bug-like eyes and no visible limbs, hovering or floating above more normal human figures. Local tribes spoke of these as spirit beings who came from the sky and possessed great knowledge. The pattern was becoming impossible to ignore. Across continents, separated by vast distances and thousands of years, prehistoric humans were creating remarkably similar depictions of non-human beings with advanced technology. Either this was the most extraordinary coincidence in human history, or our ancestors were documenting something real. In India, recent discoveries have added even more fuel to this cosmic fire. Deep in the caves of Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh, archaeologists have uncovered 10,000-year-old paintings that seem to show UFOs and extraterrestrial beings with a clarity that's almost shocking. One image appears to show a being in what looks unmistakably like a spacesuit, complete with a helmet and breathing apparatus, standing next to what can only be described as a flying saucer. The craft in the painting has all the classic elements we associate with UFO encounters: a disc shape, some kind of force field or energy beam extending from it, and what appears to be either landing gear or propulsion systems. Even more intriguing, the painting seems to show the craft either beaming something up or down, possibly depicting what we would now recognize as an abduction scenario. Dr. J.R. Bhagat, an archaeologist who has studied these paintings extensively, noted their unique nature compared to other prehistoric art in the region. While most ancient Indian cave art focuses on animals and hunting scenes, these particular images seem to be telling a very different story. The level of detail in the depiction of both the beings and their technology suggests that the artists were trying to record something specific and important, not simply creating abstract spiritual art. What makes the Indian discoveries particularly compelling is their context within local oral traditions. Many tribal groups in the region have legends that speak of sky people who visited their ancestors, bringing knowledge and gifts before departing for the stars. These stories, passed down through countless generations, describe beings who looked different from humans and possessed technologies that seemed magical. The Dogon people of West Africa provide perhaps the most famous example of this pattern. Their traditional knowledge includes detailed information about the star system Sirius, including the existence of a companion star that wasn't discovered by Western astronomy until the 1970s. The Dogon claim this knowledge was given to them by visitors from Sirius, beings they call the Nommo, who arrived in great ships from the sky and taught them about the cosmos. Critics argue that the Dogon knowledge could have been contaminated by contact with Western astronomers, but the oral traditions describing the Nommo are deeply embedded in Dogon culture and appear to predate any such contact. The descriptions of these visitors, including their amphibious nature and their advanced knowledge of astronomy seem too specific and unusual to be simple mythological inventions. As we examine these discoveries from around the world, a pattern emerges that's both fascinating and deeply unsettling. Our ancestors, living in what we consider the dawn of human civilization, seem to have had encounters with beings and technologies that shouldn't have existed. They documented these encounters with a consistency and attention to detail that suggests they were recording real events, not creating fantasy art. But if these encounters really happened, what were the implications for human development? Did contact with advanced extraterrestrial visitors influence our evolution from primitive hunter-gatherers to the builders of complex civilizations? Could the sudden emergence of agriculture, writing, and monumental architecture have been guided by knowledge gained from these cosmic teachers? The timeline is certainly intriguing. Many of the cave paintings depicting apparent alien contact date to around 10 to 12,000 years ago, right around the time that human civilization began its rapid acceleration. This was when agriculture first developed in multiple locations around the world, when humans began building permanent settlements, and when we started developing the technologies that would eventually lead to complex societies. Traditional archaeology explains these developments as the natural result of human innovation and environmental changes following the end of the last ice age. As the climate warmed and became more stable, humans had the opportunity to develop new technologies and social structures. The invention of agriculture led to food surpluses, which allowed some people to specialize in other activities, eventually leading to the development of crafts, trade, and complex societies. But what if this explanation is incomplete? What if the rapid development of human civilization was accelerated by knowledge gained from extraterrestrial visitors? The cave paintings suggest that our ancestors had contact with beings who possessed advanced technology and knowledge. Could these visitors have provided the crucial insights that allowed humans to make the leap from Stone Age hunters to the builders of pyramids and cities? The idea isn't as far-fetched as it might initially seem. Throughout human history, contact between cultures with different levels of technology has often led to rapid advancement for the less advanced group. European contact with the Americas introduced new crops, animals, and technologies that transformed Native American societies. Similarly, the Silk Road facilitated the exchange of knowledge and innovations across Asia, leading to rapid technological and cultural development. If extraterrestrial visitors did make contact with prehistoric humans, the transfer of knowledge could have been even more dramatic. Beings with the technology to travel between stars would possess scientific knowledge far beyond anything humans could develop independently. Even small hints about agriculture, metallurgy, or astronomy could have accelerated human development by thousands of years. The cave paintings might represent humanity's earliest attempt to document and preserve the memory of these encounters. In a world without writing, visual art was the primary means of recording important events and knowledge. The consistent depiction of non-human beings with advanced technology across multiple continents suggests that these encounters were significant enough to warrant permanent documentation. But here's where the story takes an even more intriguing turn. The paintings don't just show these mysterious visitors. They often depict them interacting with humans in ways that suggest teaching or guidance. In many images, the otherworldly beings appear to be demonstrating something to human figures, or humans are shown in positions that suggest reverence or learning. This suggests that the contact wasn't hostile or accidental, but deliberate and educational. These beings, whoever or whatever they were, seem to have taken an active role in human development, sharing knowledge that would fundamentally change our species' trajectory. The implications of this possibility send chills down the spine of anyone who truly considers what it might mean. Picture yourself as one of these prehistoric humans, living in a world where survival depends on your ability to find food, avoid predators, and work together with your small tribe. Your understanding of the world is limited to what you can see, hear, and touch. The stars are mysterious lights in the night sky. Fire is a precious resource that must be carefully maintained, and the idea of travelling beyond the next valley is almost unimaginable. Then, one day, something descends from the heavens that changes everything you thought you knew about reality. Beings emerge who look somewhat like you but possess capabilities that seem godlike. They have tools that work without human hands, knowledge of the stars that spans beyond the horizon, and an understanding of the natural world that allows them to demonstrate things that seem like magic. The psychological impact of such an encounter would be profound and lasting. These visitors wouldn't just be sharing technology, they would be fundamentally altering human consciousness, expanding our concept of what's possible, and planting seeds of ambition that would drive our species for millennia to come. The cave paintings might represent more than historical documentation. They could be humanity's first attempt to grapple with the mind-expanding realization that we are not alone in the universe. But let's dig deeper into what the evidence actually shows us. The Wandjina figures of Australia present one of the most compelling cases for prehistoric alien contact. These paintings, found across thousands of square kilometres in the remote Kimberley region, depict beings that are strikingly consistent in their otherworldly appearance. They have large, round heads with no mouths, often surrounded by radiating lines that suggest some kind of helmet or energy field. What makes the Wandjina particularly fascinating is their integration into Aboriginal culture and oral tradition. The Aboriginal people don't treat these as ancient mythological figures. They speak of the Wandjina as real beings who shaped the landscape and taught important knowledge to their ancestors. According to traditional stories, the Sunjina came from the sky during the dream time, the creation period in Aboriginal belief, and were responsible for bringing law, culture, and wisdom to humanity. The paintings themselves show remarkable sophistication for their age. Some of the Wandjina figures are depicted with multiple arms, or in positions that suggest movement or flight. They're often shown alongside objects that look suspiciously like aircraft or spacecraft, with streamlined shapes and what appear to be propulsion systems. The attention to detail in these images suggests that the artists were trying to capture specific visual information, not creating abstract spiritual art. Even more intriguing is the way these paintings have been maintained over thousands of years. Aboriginal communities have continued to repaint and restore the Wandjina images through countless generations, treating them as living entities that require care and attention. This suggests that the original encounters were so significant that they became central to the cultural identity of an entire people, important enough to preserve through tens of thousands of years of oral tradition and artistic maintenance. The Barrier Canyon petroglyphs in Utah tell a similar story with their own unique twist. These haunting images, carved into red sandstone cliffs in some of the most remote and inaccessible locations in North America, show beings that seem to hover or float above the landscape. The figures have elongated bodies, often with no visible limbs, and large eyes that give them a distinctly non-human appearance. What sets the Barrier Canyon art apart is its emotional impact. Unlike the more static cave paintings found elsewhere, these petroglyphs seem to capture movement and interaction. Some figures appear to be ascending or descending, as if they're in the process of arriving or departing. Others are shown in groups, as if they're communicating or conducting some kind of ceremony with human figures. The location of these petroglyphs is also significant. They're found in areas that would have required considerable effort to reach, even for people familiar with the terrain. This suggests that creating these images was considered important enough to justify the dangerous journey to remote cliff faces. The artists weren't just casually documenting something they'd seen. They were making a deliberate effort to place these images in locations where they would be preserved for future generations. Native American oral traditions in the region speak of star people who came from the sky and shared knowledge with their ancestors. These stories describe beings who could travel through the air and possessed understanding of things that were beyond human knowledge at the time. The consistency between these oral traditions and the visual evidence in the petroglyphs suggests that both are preserving memories of real events. In South America, the pattern continues with discoveries that are perhaps even more explicit in their depiction of apparent extraterrestrial contact. The Nazca lines of Peru, while not exactly cave paintings, represent another form of prehistoric art that seems to suggest knowledge and capabilities beyond what we would expect from ancient humans. These massive geoglyphs, some stretching for miles across the desert floor, can only be fully appreciated from high above the ground. The precision and scale of the Nazca lines suggest that their creators had some way of viewing their work from an aerial perspective. The lines include not just abstract geometric patterns, but detailed depictions of animals and more mysteriously humanoid figures that don't look quite human. Some of these figures have enlarged heads, unusual body proportions, and what appear to be helmets or other equipment. The creation of the Nazca lines would have required not just artistic vision, but sophisticated knowledge of mathematics, surveying, and large-scale project management. The lines are so precise that they maintain their straightness across miles of varied terrain, suggesting the use of techniques that shouldn't have been available to prehistoric peoples. Yet there they are, etched into the desert floor with a permanence that has allowed them to survive for over 1,000 years. Local legends speak of sky gods who taught the Nazca people important knowledge and who could travel through the air. Some researchers have suggested that the lines themselves might have served as landing strips or navigation aids for aerial visitors. While this theory is controversial, it's hard to explain why a ground-based culture would invest so much effort in creating images that can only be properly viewed from the sky. But perhaps the most compelling evidence comes from the caves of France and Spain, where some of the world's oldest and most sophisticated cave art has been discovered. The paintings in locations like Lascaux and Altamira are famous for their artistic beauty and their detailed depictions of Ice Age animals. But hidden among these well-known images are figures and symbols that don't fit the standard interpretation of prehistoric art. In several French caves, researchers have found images that appear to show disc-shaped objects in the sky, sometimes with radiating lines that suggest energy or light. These objects are often depicted alongside human figures who seem to be looking up at them or pointing toward them. The positioning and context of these images suggest that they're meant to be documentary rather than symbolic. Even more intriguing are the human figures themselves. While most cave art shows humans in profile or as simple stick figures, some of the French caves contain images of beings that are more detailed and anatomically unusual. These figures often have enlarged heads, elongated limbs, or other features that distinguish them from normal human depictions. They're sometimes shown wearing what appears to be clothing or equipment that's more sophisticated than the animal skins we would expect from Ice Age peoples. The technical skill required to create these paintings is remarkable. The artists use sophisticated techniques including perspective, shading, and color gradation that wouldn't be seen again in human art for thousands of years. They also demonstrated knowledge of animal anatomy and behavior that suggests careful, long-term observation. This level of artistic sophistication emerging suddenly in the archaeological record, without clear precedents, mirrors the pattern we see with other technological and cultural advances in human prehistory. The timing of these cave paintings is also significant. Many of the most sophisticated examples date to around 30 to 40,000 years ago, right around the time that modern humans were establishing themselves in Europe and beginning to show signs of advanced cognitive abilities. This was when humans first began creating complex tools, jewellery, and musical instruments. It was also when we started burying our dead with grave goods, suggesting the development of abstract thinking about life, death, and possibly the afterlife. Could contact with extraterrestrial visitors have provided the catalyst for this cognitive revolution? The sudden appearance of advanced artistic techniques, complex symbolic thinking, and sophisticated technology in the archaeological record has long puzzled researchers. Traditional explanations focus on evolutionary changes in the human brain or environmental pressures that favoured innovation. But what if the real catalyst was contact with beings who possessed knowledge far beyond anything humans could develop independently? The implications extend far beyond just the development of art and technology. If extraterrestrial visitors did make contact with prehistoric humans, they might have influenced our social and spiritual development as well. Many of the world's oldest religious and mythological traditions speak of beings who came from the sky and taught humans important knowledge about morality, social organization, and the nature of the universe. These traditions often describe a golden age when gods walked among humans and shared their wisdom directly. As time passed and the visitors departed, this knowledge was preserved in stories, rituals, and artistic depictions. Over thousands of years, the literal truth of these encounters was gradually transformed into mythology and religious belief, but the core memory of contact with superior beings remained embedded in human culture. This would explain why so many ancient cultures around the world have remarkably similar creation myths, flood stories, and tales of sky gods. Rather than being independent inventions of the human imagination, these stories might be distorted memories of real events, passed down through countless generations of oral tradition The consistency of these themes across cultures that had no contact with each other suggests a common source, possibly rooted in actual historical events. The evidence is circumstantial but compelling. From the caves of Algeria to the cliffs of Utah, from the Aboriginal paintings of Australia to the mysterious lines of Peru, prehistoric humans seem to have documented encounters with beings and technologies that shouldn't have existed in their time. The consistency of these depictions across cultures and continents suggests that something extraordinary happened during humanity's formative years, something that our ancestors considered important enough to preserve in permanent artistic form. But here's where the mystery deepens even further. If these encounters really happened, where did the visitors go? Why did contact apparently cease, leaving only these tantalizing artistic clues behind? And perhaps most importantly, what does this mean for humanity's future? The answers to these questions might lie in understanding what was happening to our planet during the time period when these encounters allegedly took place. Around 12,000 years ago, Earth was experiencing one of the most dramatic climate changes in its recent geological history. The last ice age was ending, massive glaciers were melting, and sea levels were rising at an unprecedented rate. Entire continents were being reshaped as the planet transitioned from a frozen world to the warmer climate we know today. This period, known as the Younger Dryas, was marked by sudden and extreme climate fluctuations. Temperatures could shift by as much as 15 degrees Celsius within a matter of decades. Massive floods carved new river valleys as glacial dams burst, releasing unimaginable volumes of water across the landscape. The very geography of the planet was being rewritten in real time, and any civilization living on Earth during this period would have faced challenges that tested their survival to the absolute limit. For extraterrestrial visitors monitoring our planet, this would have been a time of unprecedented opportunity and urgency. If they had been observing human development, they would have witnessed our species reaching a critical juncture. The climate chaos was forcing human populations to adapt or perish, and the decisions made during this period would determine whether our species would continue to evolve or face extinction like so many others before us. The cave paintings from this era tell a story that's both hopeful and desperate. In many images, the otherworldly beings appear to be teaching or demonstrating something to human figures. There's a sense of urgency in these depictions, as if important knowledge was being transmitted quickly, perhaps because time was running out. Some researchers have noted that many of the most detailed and explicit paintings seem to cluster around this period of maximum climate instability, suggesting that contact intensified precisely when humanity needed help the most. But there's another element to consider that makes this story even more complex. Archaeological evidence from around the world suggests that this period of climate change coincided with a massive extinction event that affected not just animals but entire human cultures. Advanced societies that had developed sophisticated tools and complex social structures simply vanished from the archaeological record, leaving behind only scattered artifacts and mysterious ruins. The Clovis culture of North America, known for their sophisticated stone tools and successful hunting techniques, disappeared almost overnight around 11,000 years ago. In Europe, the Magdalenian culture, responsible for some of the most beautiful cave art ever created, similarly vanished during this period. These weren't gradual cultural changes or normal evolutionary transitions. They were sudden disappearances that left gaps in the archaeological record that researchers still struggle to explain. What if these extinctions weren't random casualties of climate change, but the result of something more deliberate? The cave paintings suggest that contact with extraterrestrial visitors was selective, focused on specific groups of humans who were chosen for reasons we can only guess at. Perhaps these visitors were conducting a kind of experiment, testing different approaches to human development by working with various cultures and observing the results. The surviving cultures, the ones that made it through this period of upheaval and went on to develop agriculture and complex civilizations, might have been the successful test subjects. They carried with them knowledge and capabilities that had been enhanced or guided by extraterrestrial intervention, giving them the tools they needed to not just survive but thrive in the post-Ice Age world. This would explain why human civilization developed so rapidly after this period. Within just a few thousand years of the climate stabilizing, humans went from small hunter-gatherer bands to building massive stone monuments, developing writing systems and creating complex urban societies. The speed of this transformation has always puzzled archaeologists, who struggle to explain how such dramatic advances could occur so quickly without some kind of external catalyst. The megalithic structures that began appearing around the world during this period provide some of the most compelling evidence for this theory. Sites like Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, dated to around 11,000 years ago, demonstrate engineering and organizational capabilities that seem impossible for the small hunter-gatherer societies that supposedly built them. The site consists of massive stone pillars, some weighing up to 20 tons, arranged in complex patterns and decorated with intricate carvings of animals and abstract symbols. What makes Göbekli Tepe particularly mysterious is that it appears to have been deliberately buried around 8,000 years ago, covered with tons of earth and debris in what seems like a systematic effort to hide it from view. This wasn't natural sedimentation or accidental abandonment, it was intentional concealment, as if the builders wanted to preserve the site while keeping it hidden from future generations. The precision of the stonework at Göbekli Tepe rivals anything produced by later civilizations with metal tools and advanced engineering techniques. The builders somehow quarried, transported and erected massive stone blocks, using only the primitive tools available to Stone Age peoples. They created perfectly circular enclosures, precisely carved relief sculptures, and complex architectural features that demonstrate a level of planning and execution that seems far beyond the capabilities of nomadic hunter-gatherers. But perhaps most intriguingly, the site contains symbols and motifs that appear to be astronomical in nature. Some researchers have identified what appear to be star maps carved into the stone pillars, showing constellations and celestial events with an accuracy that suggests sophisticated knowledge of astronomy. This knowledge would have been crucial for navigation and calendar keeping, but it also hints at a cosmic perspective that seems unusual for a supposedly earth-bound culture. Similar patterns can be found at megalithic sites around the world: Stonehenge in England, the pyramids of Egypt, the stone circles of the Orkney Islands, and countless other monuments all demonstrate engineering capabilities and astronomical knowledge that seem advanced for their time periods. These sites often contain alignments with celestial events, suggesting that their builders possess detailed understanding of the movements of stars and planets. The global distribution of these sites raises intriguing questions about how such knowledge and techniques could have spread among cultures that had no apparent contact with each other. Traditional explanations focus on independent invention and gradual cultural diffusion, but the similarities in construction techniques and astronomical alignment suggest a common source of knowledge that transcended geographical boundaries. What if that common source was extraterrestrial guidance? The cave paintings that depict apparent alien contact often show the otherworldly beings alongside symbols and geometric patterns that bear striking resemblances to the designs found at megalithic sites. These symbols might represent a kind of universal language or instructional system that was used to transmit technical knowledge to selected human groups. The timing is particularly significant. Most of the world's megalithic monuments were built during a relatively brief period between 10 and 5,000 years ago, right after the end of the Ice Age and the apparent period of intensified extraterrestrial contact, suggested by the cave paintings. It's as if human civilization suddenly acquired the knowledge and motivation to build these massive structures, then gradually lost the techniques and understanding needed to replicate them. Later cultures often built on top of or incorporated these ancient monuments into their own constructions, but they rarely achieved the same level of precision and sophistication. The builders of the Egyptian pyramids, for example, clearly had access to advanced mathematical and engineering knowledge, but their techniques seem to have been inherited rather than developed independently. The oldest pyramids are often the most precisely constructed, while later examples show declining quality and accuracy. This pattern of inherited knowledge gradually degrading over time is consistent with what we might expect if human civilization had received a technological boost from an external source and then been left to develop independently. The immediate recipients of this knowledge would have been able to achieve remarkable feats, but as the information was passed down through generations without the original teachers to provide clarification and correction, it would naturally become corrupted and simplified. The religious and mythological traditions that developed around these ancient sites often preserve memories of this process. Stories of gods or sky beings who taught humans important knowledge before departing for the heavens appear in cultures around the world. These myths typically describe a golden age when divine wisdom was directly accessible, followed by a period of decline as the gods withdrew and humans were left to preserve their teachings as best they could. The Greek myth of Prometheus, stealing fire from the gods and giving it to humanity, might be a distorted memory of this kind of knowledge transfer. Similar stories appear in Native American traditions, where coyote or raven brings fire and wisdom to humans, and in Aboriginal Australian stories of the rainbow serpent teaching important survival skills. The consistency of these themes across unconnected cultures suggests that they might preserve genuine historical memories rather than being purely fictional creations. But if extraterrestrial visitors really did provide guidance to prehistoric humans, why did they leave? The cave paintings might provide clues to this mystery as well. Many of the latest images showing apparent alien contact have a different emotional tone than the earlier ones. Instead of depicting peaceful teaching scenes, they often show departure or conflict. Some figures appear to be ascending or moving away from human groups, while others seem to be in positions of confrontation or disagreement. One possible explanation is that the visitors completed their mission and returned to wherever they came from, satisfied that they had given humanity the tools needed for independent development. Another possibility is that they were forced to leave due to changing conditions on Earth or conflicts among themselves. The climate chaos of the post-Ice Age period would have made the planet a challenging environment, even for technologically advanced beings. There's also the possibility that contact didn't actually end, but simply became more subtle and indirect. Rather than maintaining obvious physical presence, extraterrestrial visitors might have shifted to a monitoring role, observing human development from a distance and intervening only when absolutely necessary. This would explain why later historical periods contain fewer explicit depictions of alien contact, but still include mysterious events and unexplained technological leaps that suggest external influence. The development of agriculture provides a perfect example of this pattern. The transition from hunting and gathering to farming happened independently in multiple locations around the world within a relatively short time period, despite the fact that these regions had no contact with each other. The specific crops that were domesticated in each area were perfectly suited to local conditions, and the techniques developed for cultivation and food storage were remarkably sophisticated for supposedly primitive peoples. Traditional explanations for the agricultural revolution focus on climate change and population pressure, forcing humans to develop new survival strategies. But the speed and efficiency of this transition, occurring simultaneously across multiple continents, suggests that the process might have been guided rather than purely accidental. Small hints or demonstrations of agricultural techniques by visiting extraterrestrials could have provided the crucial insights needed to make this transition successful. The same pattern can be seen in the development of writing systems, metallurgy, and complex social organization. These advances appeared suddenly in the archaeological record, often without clear precursors, and spread rapidly among human populations. Each advance built upon previous ones, creating a cascading effect that accelerated human development at an unprecedented rate. What makes this particularly intriguing is that many of these advances required knowledge that would have been difficult or impossible for humans to develop independently. The smelting of metals, for example, requires understanding of chemistry and high-temperature processes that would have taken countless generations of experimentation to discover. Yet evidence suggests that metallurgy appeared suddenly in multiple locations, with techniques that were sophisticated from the very beginning. The astronomical knowledge embedded in ancient monuments and calendars presents similar mysteries. Tracking the movements of planets and stars requires precise observations over extended periods, along with mathematical techniques for calculating and predicting celestial events. Many ancient cultures possessed this knowledge, despite having no apparent means of developing it independently. The Mayan calendar system, for example, was more accurate than anything developed in Europe until the modern era. It tracked multiple celestial cycles simultaneously and could predict eclipses and planetary alignments thousands of years into the future. The mathematical sophistication required for these calculations was extraordinary. Yet it appeared suddenly in the archaeological record without clear developmental stages. Similar astronomical knowledge can be found in ancient cultures around the world, from the stone circles of Britain to the temple complexes of India. These sites demonstrate understanding of concepts like the precession of the equinoxes, a phenomenon so subtle that it takes careful observation over thousands of years to detect. Yet somehow, ancient peoples who supposedly lacked writing and advanced mathematics were able to incorporate this knowledge into their monuments and calendars. The implications of all this evidence paint a picture that's both fascinating and slightly unsettling. If extraterrestrial visitors really did guide human development during our prehistoric period, it means that much of what we consider uniquely human achievement might actually be the result of cosmic mentorship. Our rapid rise from Stone Age hunters to builders of civilization might not represent pure human ingenuity, but rather the successful implementation of an extraterrestrial development program. This possibility raises profound questions about human identity and our place in the universe. Are we truly an independent, intelligent species? Or are we more like a carefully cultivated experiment that has been allowed to develop under external guidance? The cave paintings that started this investigation suggest that our ancestors grappled with similar questions, trying to understand and document their relationship with beings who possessed capabilities far beyond human understanding. The emotional content of many prehistoric artworks hints at the psychological impact of these encounters on early human consciousness. The figures depicting apparent alien contact often show humans in positions of awe, reverence, or fear, suggesting that these meetings were profound and transformative experiences. The beings themselves are typically portrayed with a mixture of human and non-human characteristics, as if the artist was struggling to capture something that didn't fit into their normal categories of understanding. Some images seem to show humans being selected or chosen by the otherworldly visitors, while others depict teaching or demonstration scenes where knowledge is being transferred. There's often a sense of ceremony or ritual in these depictions, suggesting that contact followed specific protocols and wasn't random or casual. The visitors appear to have had deliberate purposes and carefully planned interactions with selected human groups. But perhaps the most intriguing aspect of this evidence is what it suggests about the future. If extraterrestrial guidance helped shape human civilization in the past, might we expect similar interventions in the future? The rapid pace of technological development in the modern era, particularly in areas like space exploration and artificial intelligence, might be preparing humanity for the next phase of cosmic contact. The cave paintings that document prehistoric encounters might be more than just historical curiosities. They could be preparation manuals, left by our ancestors to help future generations understand and recognize signs of extraterrestrial presence. The consistent symbols and motifs found in prehistoric art around the world might represent a kind of cosmic vocabulary, a universal language designed to facilitate communication between humans and their otherworldly mentors. As we stand on the threshold of becoming a spacefaring species ourselves, these ancient messages take on new relevance and urgency. The beings who guided our ancestors through the transition from Stone Age hunters to agricultural civilizations might be preparing to guide us through the next great transition, from a planet-bound species to citizens of the galaxy. The evidence hidden in caves and carved into cliffsides around the world might be our first glimpse of a cosmic community that we're finally ready to join. The story becomes even more extraordinary when we consider what happened to human consciousness itself during this pivotal period. Around 40,000 years ago, something remarkable occurred in the human brain that scientists call the cognitive revolution. Suddenly, humans who had been using the same basic stone tools for hundreds of thousands of years began creating art, jewellery, musical instruments, and complex burial rituals. It was as if a switch had been flipped in the human mind, unlocking capabilities that had been dormant for millennia. This transformation wasn't gradual. Archaeological evidence shows that sophisticated symbolic thinking appeared almost overnight in the geological record. Humans who had never created anything more complex than a hand axe suddenly began carving intricate figurines, painting elaborate cave scenes, and crafting ornamental objects that served no practical survival purpose. They started burying their dead with grave goods, suggesting abstract thinking about life after death and the nature of existence itself. The timing of this cognitive leap corresponds precisely with the period when the most sophisticated cave paintings depicting apparent extraterrestrial contact were being created. Could this be more than coincidence? What if the awakening of human consciousness wasn't an evolutionary accident, but the result of deliberate intervention by beings who understood the potential locked within the human mind? Consider what would happen if technologically advanced visitors encountered early humans who possessed the biological foundation for intelligence, but hadn't yet learned to fully utilize it. These beings might have recognized that humans were on the verge of a cognitive breakthrough, and decided to provide the catalyst needed to trigger that transformation. The cave paintings might document not just physical contact, but a kind of consciousness expansion that fundamentally altered human mental capabilities. The evidence for this possibility extends far beyond individual artworks. Across multiple continents, the archaeological record shows that human behavior became dramatically more sophisticated during this period. Tool-making techniques that had remained unchanged for hundreds of thousands of years suddenly evolved into complex, multi-step processes that required advanced planning and abstract thinking. Humans began creating composite tools, combining different materials in ways that demonstrated understanding of physics and engineering principles. Language development during this period was equally remarkable. While we can't directly study prehistoric languages, the complexity of the art and technology from this era suggests that human communication had evolved far beyond simple grunts and gestures. The creation of symbolic art requires sophisticated language abilities, as does the coordination needed for large construction projects and the transmission of complex technical knowledge across generations. The social implications of these changes were profound. Humans began forming larger, more complex, groups with specialized roles and hierarchical structures. They developed trade networks that spanned hundreds of miles, suggesting organizational abilities that went far beyond simple family bands. Most importantly, they began creating shared belief systems and cultural practices that bound these larger groups together, laying the foundation for what would eventually become human civilization. But here's where the mystery deepens into something almost incomprehensible. The cave paintings don't just show contact with otherworldly beings. They often depict these encounters in ways that suggest the visitors possessed knowledge not just of technology, but of human potential itself. Some images appear to show the beings examining or interacting with human heads, as if they were studying or manipulating human consciousness directly. In several caves across different continents, researchers have found paintings that seem to depict what can only be described as medical or scientific procedures. Otherworldly figures are shown with instruments or devices that appear to be examining human subjects. The level of anatomical detail in these images suggests that the artist had witnessed or experienced something that involved precise knowledge of human biology and neurology. The Aboriginal Wandjina figures of Australia provide particularly compelling evidence for this interpretation. Many of these paintings show the otherworldly beings with radiating lines extending from their heads, which Aboriginal tradition describes as representing the power of thought and consciousness. The beings are often depicted touching or pointing to human figures, as if transferring this mental energy or knowledge directly from one consciousness to another. Local Aboriginal stories describe the Wandjina as teachers who didn't just provide practical knowledge but fundamentally changed how humans thought and perceived the world. According to these traditions, before the Wandjina came, humans lived like animals, focused only on immediate survival needs. After contact, they began to think about the future, to plan and dream and create, to see connections between things that had previously seemed unrelated. This description matches perfectly with what neuroscientists understand about the cognitive revolution. The human brain didn't physically change during this period, but something triggered the activation of neural pathways and thinking patterns that had previously been dormant. Modern research suggests that consciousness itself might be more malleable than we previously believed, capable of being enhanced or expanded through various techniques and interventions. What if the otherworldly visitors possessed advanced understanding of consciousness and neurology that allowed them to deliberately trigger this cognitive awakening in selected human populations? The cave paintings might be documenting not just first contact, but the moment when human consciousness was upgraded from its primitive state to something approaching its full potential. The implications of this possibility extend far beyond prehistoric archaeology. If extraterrestrial beings once enhanced human consciousness, it suggests that our mental capabilities might still be operating below their full capacity. The cognitive revolution of 40,000 years ago might have been just the first stage in a longer process of consciousness development that continues to this day. Consider the remarkable individuals throughout history who have demonstrated capabilities that seem to transcend normal human limitations. Genius inventors, visionary artists, mathematical prodigies, and spiritual teachers who appeared to access knowledge and insights far beyond what their education and experience should have provided. Could these individuals represent examples of human consciousness operating closer to its enhanced potential, possibly through continued but subtle extraterrestrial guidance? The patterns of human innovation throughout history show periodic leaps forward that mirror the sudden cognitive advancement of the prehistoric period. The Renaissance, the scientific revolution, the Industrial Revolution, and our current technological age all represent periods when human knowledge and capabilities advanced at unprecedented rates. Traditional explanations focus on cultural and economic factors, but what if these breakthrough periods represent times when extraterrestrial guidance became more active or direct? The cave paintings suggest that contact with otherworldly beings wasn't a one-time event, but an ongoing process that continued over thousands of years. The latest paintings showing apparent alien contact date to around 5,000 years ago, right around the time when human civilization began its most rapid acceleration. This was when humans started building the first cities, developing writing systems, and creating the complex social structures that would eventually lead to our modern world. But the nature of the contact appears to have changed over time. The earliest paintings show clear, direct interaction between humans and otherworldly beings. Later images become more symbolic and abstract, suggesting that contact became more subtle or indirect. Instead of obvious physical presence, the guidance might have shifted to inspiration, dreams, or sudden insights that seemed to come from nowhere, but led to revolutionary breakthroughs in human knowledge and capability. This evolution in the nature of contact makes sense from a developmental perspective. Just as human parents gradually reduce their direct intervention, as children mature and become more independent, extraterrestrial mentors might have slowly withdrawn obvious assistance as human civilization became more capable of independent development. The goal wouldn't be to create dependency, but to nurture growth toward eventual self-sufficiency and cosmic citizenship. The mythological traditions that emerged during this transitional period preserve memories of this changing relationship. Stories of gods who once walked among humans but gradually became more distant and mysterious appear in cultures around the world. These myths often describe a golden age when divine knowledge was directly accessible, followed by periods of increasing separation as humans were left to develop their own understanding and capabilities. The Greek concept of the ages of man, progressing from a golden age of divine presence to successive ages of increasing human independence and struggle, might reflect genuine historical memory rather than pure mythology. Similar patterns appear in Hindu concepts of cosmic cycles, Native American prophecies about the departure of sky beings, and countless other cultural traditions that speak of a time when heaven and earth were more closely connected. But perhaps the most intriguing aspect of this evidence is what it suggests about human destiny and our future role in the cosmos. If extraterrestrial beings really did guide our development from primitive hunters to builders of civilization, they must have had a purpose beyond simple scientific curiosity. The investment of time and resources required for such a long-term project suggests that they saw potential in humanity that justified their efforts. The cave paintings might provide clues to this cosmic purpose. Many of the images showing apparent alien contact include symbols and geometric patterns that seem to represent star maps or navigation charts. These could be instructions or markers pointing toward humanity's eventual destiny as a spacefaring species. The beings who guided our early development might have been preparing us for the day when we would join them among the stars. This interpretation gained support from the remarkable acceleration of human space exploration in recent decades. Despite having no apparent evolutionary need for such capabilities, humans have developed an almost compulsive drive to explore beyond our planet. We've reached the moon, sent probes to every planet in our solar system, and are now planning missions to Mars and beyond. This expansion into space seems to be driven by something deeper than mere scientific curiosity, as if we're following an ancient directive encoded in our collective consciousness. The timing of this space age coincides with other developments that suggest we might be approaching another phase of contact with our cosmic mentors. UFO sightings and encounters have increased dramatically since the 1940s, right around the time humans first developed nuclear weapons and began serious space exploration. Government disclosure of previously classified UFO evidence suggests that we're being prepared for some kind of revelation about extraterrestrial presence. Could this be the next stage in the relationship that began with those first cave paintings 40,000 years ago? The beings who guided our ancestors through the transition, from Stone Age hunters to agricultural civilizations, might be preparing to guide us through the next great transition, from a planet-bound species to members of a galactic community. The evidence hidden in caves around the world suggests that this process has been ongoing for millennia, with each generation building upon the knowledge and capabilities provided by their cosmic teachers. We might be approaching the culmination of this ancient plan, the moment when humanity is finally ready to take its place among the stars and reunite with the beings who helped shape our destiny. The cave paintings that started this investigation might be more than historical documents. They could be preparation manuals left by our ancestors to help us recognize and understand the signs of this approaching reunion. The symbols and motifs that appear consistently in prehistoric art around the world might represent a universal language designed to facilitate communication when contact is re-established. As we stand on the threshold of becoming a spacefaring civilization ourselves, these ancient messages take on new urgency and meaning. The beings depicted in those remote caves might soon step out of mythology and into reality, revealing themselves as the cosmic gardeners who have been patiently nurturing human development for thousands of years. The next chapter in this extraordinary story might be about to begin, and the cave paintings of our ancestors might finally reveal their true purpose as humanity prepares for its graduation into the galactic community. The psychological impact of such a revelation would be profound and transformative. Just as contact with otherworldly beings fundamentally altered human consciousness 40,000 years ago, re-establishing open contact could trigger another cognitive revolution that expands our understanding of reality and our place in the universe. The cave paintings suggest that our ancestors were forever changed by their encounters with cosmic visitors. We might be about to discover what that transformation feels like for ourselves. But this raises one final haunting question that echoes through the ages since those first paintings were created in the depths of prehistoric caves. If extraterrestrial beings really have been guiding human development for thousands of years, what does that make us? Are we truly an independent, intelligent species, or are we something more like a carefully cultivated garden, tended by cosmic gardeners whose purposes we can barely comprehend? The answer to that question might determine not just our understanding of the past, but our destiny among the stars. And somewhere in the shadows of those ancient caves, the painted figures of otherworldly beings continue their eternal vigil, waiting for the day when their true story can finally be told and their ancient purpose revealed. The weight of this possibility presses down on us like the stone ceiling of those ancient caves where our ancestors first documented their cosmic encounters. If humanity has indeed been guided by extraterrestrial mentors for tens of thousands of years, we must confront the uncomfortable truth that everything we consider uniquely human achievement might be the result of a carefully orchestrated development program spanning millennia. Consider the staggering implications hidden within the timeline itself. The cognitive revolution that transformed human consciousness 40,000 years ago wasn't an isolated event, but the beginning of a systematic enhancement process that continues to unfold. Each major leap in human capability, from the development of agriculture to the invention of writing, from the construction of megalithic monuments to the emergence of complex civilizations, might represent carefully timed interventions designed to guide our species along a predetermined path. The archaeological evidence supporting this theory extends far beyond individual cave paintings to encompass patterns of development that span continents and cultures. When we examine the rise of ancient civilizations around the world, we find remarkable similarities in their foundational technologies and organizational structures, despite the fact that these cultures had no apparent contact with each other. The Sumerian civilization of Mesopotamia, emerging around 3500 BCE, suddenly possessed advanced knowledge of mathematics, astronomy, and engineering that allowed them to build sophisticated cities and irrigation systems. Their contemporary civilization in the Indus Valley demonstrated equally advanced urban planning and hydraulic engineering. Meanwhile, in China, the early dynasties were developing complex bronze working techniques and organizational systems that would dominate the region for thousands of years. What makes these parallel developments so intriguing is their simultaneous emergence and shared characteristics. All of these civilizations developed writing systems within a relatively brief period, despite using completely different symbolic approaches. They all built monumental architecture that demonstrated sophisticated understanding of engineering principles. They all developed complex religious and governmental systems that could manage large populations and coordinate massive construction projects. Traditional explanations for these similarities focus on the concept of independent invention, the idea that humans in different locations naturally developed similar solutions to common problems. But the speed and sophistication of these developments suggest something more than parallel evolution. The knowledge and organizational capabilities that appeared during this period were so advanced compared to what came before that they seem to represent sudden leaps rather than gradual development. The mystery deepens when we examine the technological achievements of these early civilizations. The precision of ancient megalithic construction, the accuracy of early astronomical observations, and the sophistication of early mathematical systems all suggest access to knowledge that would have been extremely difficult to develop independently. Modern attempts to replicate some of these achievements using period-appropriate tools and techniques have often failed or required modifications that wouldn't have been available to ancient peoples. The Great Pyramid of Giza, built around 2580 BCE, demonstrates engineering precision that challenges our understanding of what was possible with Bronze Age technology. The structure is aligned to true north, with an accuracy of less than 1/10 of a degree. Its base is level to within just over 2 centimeters across its massive expanse, and its internal chambers are positioned with mathematical precision that encodes fundamental constants like pi and the golden ratio. Creating such a structure would have required not just advanced knowledge of mathematics and engineering, but also organizational capabilities that could coordinate the efforts of thousands of workers over decades. The logistics alone, involving the quarrying, transportation, and precise placement of over 2 million stone blocks, each weighing several tons, represent a project management challenge that would test modern capabilities. Yet according to conventional archaeology, this monument was built by a civilization that had only recently developed writing, and was still using copper tools for most purposes. The disconnect between the sophistication of the achievement and the supposed limitations of the technology available suggests that something crucial is missing from our understanding of how these projects were accomplished. Similar puzzles exist at ancient sites around the world. Stonehenge in England required the transportation of massive stone blocks over distances of hundreds of miles. Then their precise arrangement in complex astronomical alignments that track celestial cycles with remarkable accuracy. The builders somehow possessed detailed knowledge of stellar movements and the mathematical skills needed to predict and incorporate these patterns into their monument. In South America, the ancient city of Tiwanaku near Lake Titicaca features stone blocks weighing up to 450 tons that were somehow quarried, transported across difficult terrain, and fitted together with precision joints that require no mortar. The site demonstrates advanced understanding of hydraulics, with sophisticated water management systems that controlled flooding and drainage across the entire complex. These achievements become even more remarkable when we consider that they were accomplished by peoples who supposedly lacked written language, advanced mathematics, and metal tools capable of working hard stone. The conventional explanations involving ramps, levers, and massive human labour forces struggle to account for the precision and scale of what was actually achieved. The cave paintings that document apparent extraterrestrial contact during this same period might provide the missing piece of this puzzle. If otherworldly visitors really did share advanced knowledge with selected human groups, it would explain how these remarkable achievements became possible. Small demonstrations of engineering principles, mathematical concepts, or organizational techniques could have provided the crucial insights needed to accomplish projects that would otherwise have been impossible. But the influence of these cosmic mentors might have extended far beyond technical knowledge to encompass the very foundations of human civilization itself. The social and political structures that emerged during this period show remarkable sophistication in their understanding of human psychology and group dynamics. The development of complex religious systems, legal codes, and governmental hierarchies suggests insight into human nature that seems advanced for supposedly primitive peoples. The Code of Hammurabi, dating to around 1750 BCE, demonstrates sophisticated understanding of legal principles and social organization that formed the foundation for justice systems that persist to this day. The concept of proportional punishment, the presumption of innocence, and the idea that laws should apply equally to all citizens regardless of social status represent insights into human nature and social dynamics that require deep understanding of psychology and group behavior. Similar legal and social innovations appeared in civilizations around the world during this period, often with striking similarities despite the lack of apparent contact between cultures. The development of democratic principles in ancient Greece, the meritocratic systems of ancient China, and the complex federal structures of some Native American confederations all represent sophisticated solutions to the challenges of governing large, diverse populations. These social innovations might represent another form of extraterrestrial guidance, focused not on technology, but on helping humans develop the organizational structures needed to function as a unified species. The beings who guided our ancestors might have understood that technological advancement, without corresponding social and ethical development, could lead to self-destruction, a lesson that becomes increasingly relevant as we examine our own rapid technological progress. The timeline of human development shows a consistent pattern of breakthrough periods followed by consolidation phases, as if new knowledge was being introduced in carefully measured doses to prevent overwhelming human societies. The Bronze Age revolution that introduced metalworking technology was followed by a period of gradual refinement and spread. The development of writing systems was similarly introduced in multiple locations within a relatively brief period, then gradually evolved and spread throughout human populations. This pattern suggests a deliberate pacing designed to allow human societies to absorb and integrate new capabilities before receiving additional enhancements. The cosmic mentors guiding human development might have understood that too much change too quickly could destabilize societies and potentially derail the entire development process. The religious and mythological traditions that emerged during these breakthrough periods preserve memories of this guidance process. Stories of gods or sky beings who taught humans important knowledge appear in virtually every ancient culture, often with remarkably similar details despite the lack of contact between civilizations. These myths typically describe a golden age when divine wisdom was directly accessible, followed by a period of gradual withdrawal as humans were left to develop independently. The consistency of these themes across unconnected cultures suggests that they preserve genuine historical memories rather than being purely fictional creations. The details in these stories often include specific information about the appearance and behavior of the otherworldly teachers that matches the descriptions found in cave paintings and other ancient art. The Hindu Vedas describe the Devas as beings who came from the sky and taught humans about fire, metallurgy, and the movements of celestial bodies. Greek mythology speaks of the Titans and Olympians who gave humans the gifts of civilization before withdrawing to Mount Olympus. Native American traditions across multiple tribes describe star people who shared knowledge about agriculture, astronomy, and social organization before returning to the sky. These stories aren't just abstract myths, but detailed accounts that often include technical information about the knowledge that was shared. The Vedic text contains sophisticated descriptions of metallurgical processes, astronomical calculations, and engineering techniques that wouldn't be formally rediscovered by Western science until much later periods. Greek myths preserve accurate information about celestial mechanics and mathematical principles embedded within the stories of divine interventions. The oral traditions of indigenous peoples around the world contain similarly detailed technical knowledge disguised as mythological narratives. Aboriginal Australian stories describe the creation of the landscape in terms that accurately reflect geological processes, while Native American legends contain precise information about astronomy, botany, and animal behavior that has been verified by modern science. This embedding of technical knowledge within mythological frameworks might represent a sophisticated information preservation system designed to ensure that crucial knowledge would survive even if civilizations collapsed or technologies were lost. By encoding important information within memorable stories that would be passed down through generations, the cosmic mentors could create a backup system that would allow human societies to recover and rebuild even after catastrophic setbacks. The effectiveness of this approach can be seen in how indigenous cultures around the world have preserved accurate knowledge about their environments and survival techniques through thousands of years of oral transmission. The information embedded in these traditions has often proven more accurate and detailed than early scientific observations, suggesting that the original sources possessed remarkably sophisticated understanding of natural processes. But perhaps the most intriguing aspect of this preservation system is how it might be designed to activate during periods when humanity is ready for the next phase of development. Many indigenous prophecies speak of a time when the old knowledge will be revealed and ancient teachers will return to guide humanity through a period of transformation. These predictions often include specific signs and conditions that suggest they might be more than just hopeful mythology. The Hopi prophecies of the southwestern United States describe a time when the blue star Kachina will appear in the sky and the ancient knowledge will be revealed to help humanity transition to a new age. The Mayan calendar cycles point to periods of transformation when cosmic influences will trigger changes in human consciousness and capability. Aboriginal Australian traditions speak of a time when the dream time will return and the old laws will be restored. These prophecies are often remarkably specific about the conditions that will trigger these transformations, including technological developments, environmental changes, and social upheavals that seem to match current global conditions. The timing suggested by many of these traditions points to our current era as the period when these ancient promises might be fulfilled. The acceleration of human technological development in recent decades might represent the beginning of this prophesied transformation. Our rapid progress in space exploration, artificial intelligence, genetic engineering, and quantum physics is bringing us closer to capabilities that were once considered divine or magical. We're approaching the point where we might be ready to understand and utilize the advanced knowledge that was hidden within ancient myths and cave paintings. The psychological preparation for this revelation might already be underway through the gradual disclosure of information about unidentified aerial phenomena and potential extraterrestrial presence. Government acknowledgements of unexplained sightings and encounters are slowly accustoming human populations to the possibility that we're not alone in the universe and that contact with otherworldly intelligence might be imminent. This gradual preparation process mirrors the careful pacing that seems to have characterized extraterrestrial guidance throughout human history. Rather than shocking humanity with sudden revelations that could cause social upheaval, the disclosure process appears to be designed to gradually expand human consciousness and prepare us for more direct contact when we're psychologically and technologically ready. The cave paintings that started our investigation might represent more than just historical documentation. They could be part of a sophisticated communication system designed to activate when humanity reaches a specific level of development. The symbols and motifs that appear consistently in prehistoric art around the world might contain encoded information that becomes accessible only when we possess the technological and conceptual frameworks needed to understand their meaning. Modern analysis of these ancient images using advanced imaging techniques and computer pattern recognition is revealing layers of complexity that weren't visible to earlier researchers. Some symbols appear to contain mathematical relationships and astronomical data that suggest they were created by intelligence far more advanced than we've previously credited to prehistoric humans. The geometric patterns found in cave art often correspond to fundamental mathematical constants and physical principles that weren't formally discovered until modern times. The spiral patterns that appear in rock art around the world frequently encode the golden ratio and Fibonacci sequences, while the circular and linear arrangements often reflect sophisticated understanding of astronomy and geometry. These mathematical relationships suggest that the cave paintings might function as a kind of cosmic library, containing advanced knowledge encoded in symbolic form that becomes accessible as human understanding develops. The beings who guided our ancestors might have embedded instructions and information within these ancient images that would remain hidden until we possess the scientific knowledge needed to recognize and decode their meaning. The implications of this possibility extend far beyond archaeology to encompass fundamental questions about human nature and our cosmic destiny. If extraterrestrial mentors really have been guiding our development for thousands of years, we might be approaching the culmination of an ancient plan that will transform our understanding of reality and our place in the universe. The evidence hidden in caves around the world suggests that this transformation has been building toward a specific moment when humanity would be ready to graduate from planetary adolescence to cosmic citizenship. The rapid pace of our technological development, combined with growing awareness of our environmental responsibilities and potential for both creation and destruction, might indicate that this moment is approaching. The cave paintings that have preserved the memory of our cosmic origins for thousands of years might soon reveal their true purpose as humanity prepares for reunion with the beings who helped shape our destiny. The ancient promise encoded in stone and myth might finally be fulfilled as we take our place among the stars and discover our true heritage as children of the cosmos. But this revelation would bring with it profound responsibilities and challenges that will test everything we think we know about ourselves and our world. The beings who guided our ancestors understood that with great knowledge comes great responsibility, and they might have been preparing us not just for technological advancement, but for the ethical and spiritual maturity needed to use that advancement wisely. The next phase of human development might require not just technological sophistication, but a fundamental transformation of human consciousness that allows us to think and act as a unified species rather than competing tribes. The cosmic mentors who helped us transition from Stone Age hunters to builders of civilization might now be preparing to help us transition from a planet-bound species to responsible members of a galactic community. The cave paintings that document our first contact with otherworldly intelligence might soon be joined by new documentation of our reunion with these cosmic teachers. The story that began in the depths of prehistoric caves might be approaching its next chapter, one that will determine whether humanity is ready to fulfill the ancient promise encoded in stone and star and take its place among the civilizations of the cosmos. As we stand at this threshold, looking back at the evidence hidden in caves around the world and forward to a future that might include open contact with our cosmic mentors, we can feel the weight of thousands of years of preparation coming to culmination. The beings who first appeared in those ancient paintings might soon step out of mythology and into reality, revealing themselves as the patient gardeners who have been nurturing human development through its long journey from the caves to the stars. The transformation that awaits might be as profound as the cognitive revolution that changed human consciousness 40,000 years ago, expanding our understanding of reality and our capabilities in ways we can barely imagine. The cave paintings suggest that our ancestors were forever changed by their encounters with cosmic visitors. We might be about to discover what that transformation feels like as we prepare for our own graduation into the galactic community and reunion with the beings who helped make us who we are. The psychological weight of this realization settles over us like the ancient dust of those forgotten caves. If our species has indeed been shaped by cosmic gardeners for millennia, every achievement we celebrate as uniquely human might carry the fingerprints of otherworldly architects. The Renaissance masters who painted with divine inspiration, the scientists who unlocked nature's secrets through sudden flashes of insight, the inventors whose breakthroughs seemed to come from nowhere, all might represent moments when that ancient guidance system activated, downloading knowledge into receptive human minds. Consider the pattern that emerges when we examine humanity's greatest leaps forward. Leonardo da Vinci's notebooks contain designs for helicopters, submarines, and flying machines that wouldn't be built for centuries. His anatomical drawings display knowledge of human physiology that surpassed medical understanding of his time. Where did such insights originate in an era before scientific methodology or advanced research techniques? Nikola Tesla claimed his inventions came to him in fully formed visions, complete technical blueprints that appeared in his mind as if downloaded from an external source. He described receiving these revelations during altered states of consciousness, experiencing what he called flashes of light that revealed the secrets of electricity and wireless transmission. His alternating current system, wireless power transmission concepts, and radio technology all emerged from these mysterious inspirational episodes. The ancient cave paintings suggest that such episodes of enhanced understanding might not be random occurrences, but carefully orchestrated interventions by our cosmic mentors. The otherworldly beings depicted in prehistoric art often appear to be touching human heads or directing energy toward human figures, as if transferring knowledge directly into human consciousness. This process might have continued throughout history, manifesting as sudden insights, prophetic dreams, and breakthrough discoveries that advanced human civilization at crucial moments. The timing of these interventions reveals a sophisticated understanding of human psychological and social development. Major technological and cultural advances often occurred precisely when humanity was ready to integrate new capabilities without being overwhelmed by them. The printing press appeared when human societies had developed sufficient literacy to utilize mass communication. The steam engine emerged when social structures could adapt to industrial organization. Nuclear energy was discovered when humanity had developed the scientific framework to understand atomic theory. Each breakthrough built upon previous knowledge, while introducing concepts that would have been incomprehensible to earlier generations. This careful progression suggests a planned curriculum designed to guide human development through predictable stages towards some ultimate goal. The cosmic mentors might have been following a master plan that accounted for human psychology, social dynamics, and technological readiness. But the guidance appears to have been more than just technical. The great spiritual teachers throughout history, figures like Buddha, Jesus, Muhammad, and countless others, introduced concepts about human consciousness, ethics, and social responsibility that were revolutionary for their times. These teachings often emphasized humanity's connection to something greater than earthly existence, preparing our species for eventual recognition of our cosmic heritage. The mystical traditions that emerged around these teachers preserved knowledge about consciousness expansion, meditation techniques, and spiritual practices that seemed designed to enhance human mental capabilities. These systems might represent fragments of the consciousness enhancement technology that was first introduced during the prehistoric cognitive revolution. The otherworldly beings who transformed human awareness 40,000 years ago might have left behind instruction manuals disguised as spiritual teachings. Modern neuroscience is beginning to validate many of these ancient practices, discovering that meditation, prayer, and other contemplative techniques can literally rewire the human brain, enhancing cognitive abilities and expanding awareness beyond normal limitations. Research into consciousness, altering substances found in plants used by indigenous shamans, reveals that these natural compounds can trigger experiences remarkably similar to the encounters with otherworldly beings described in cave paintings and oral traditions. Could these plants represent another form of cosmic guidance, biological technologies left behind by our extraterrestrial mentors to provide ongoing access to expanded consciousness? Many indigenous cultures describe their sacred plants as teachers that provide direct communication with sky beings or cosmic intelligence. The experiences reported by users often include encounters with non-human entities who provide knowledge about healing, technology, and the nature of reality. The consistency of these experiences across different cultures and plant medicine suggests that they might represent genuine contact with the same intelligence that guided prehistoric human development. The otherworldly beings encountered during these altered states often provide information that proves accurate when tested in ordinary reality, suggesting that these experiences involve more than just hallucinations or wishful thinking. The implications extend far beyond individual consciousness to encompass the entire trajectory of human civilization. If extraterrestrial guidance has been operating throughout history, the current acceleration of technological development might represent the final phase of humanity's preparation for open cosmic contact. Our rapid progress in space exploration, artificial intelligence, genetic engineering, and quantum physics is bringing us closer to capabilities that would allow us to function as cosmic citizens. The timing seems deliberate and coordinated. Just as humanity develops the technology to detect and potentially communicate with extraterrestrial intelligence, we're also being gradually prepared psychologically for the reality of such contact. Government disclosure of unidentified aerial phenomena, scientific searches for extraterrestrial life, and popular culture's increasing acceptance of alien visitation are all contributing to a collective shift in human consciousness. This preparation process mirrors the careful pacing that characterized earlier phases of human development. Rather than shocking our species with sudden revelations that could cause social collapse, The disclosure appears to be calibrated to expand human awareness gradually, allowing us to integrate the reality of extraterrestrial presence without overwhelming our psychological and social systems. The cave paintings that documented our first cosmic encounters might represent more than historical records. They could be activation keys designed to trigger recognition when humanity reaches sufficient maturity. The symbols and patterns found in prehistoric art around the world might contain encoded information that becomes accessible only when we possess the technological and conceptual frameworks needed to understand their meaning. Advanced imaging techniques and computer analysis are revealing mathematical relationships and astronomical data embedded within ancient cave art that weren't visible to earlier researchers. Some symbols appear to contain information about stellar positions, planetary cycles, and cosmic events that correspond to modern astronomical observations. These discoveries suggest that the cave paintings function as a sophisticated information storage system, preserving advanced knowledge in symbolic form that remains hidden until humanity develops the scientific understanding needed to decode it. The geometric patterns that appear consistently in rock art worldwide often encode fundamental mathematical constants and physical principles that weren't formally discovered until modern times. The spiral designs frequently incorporate the golden ratio and Fibonacci sequences, while circular and linear arrangements reflect advanced understanding of astronomy and geometry. These mathematical relationships suggest that prehistoric artists were working from knowledge sources far more sophisticated than conventional archaeology acknowledges. The preservation of this information across tens of thousands of years required remarkable foresight and planning. The cosmic mentors who guided prehistoric human development somehow ensured that crucial knowledge would survive the rise and fall of civilizations, the loss of languages, and the destruction of libraries. By embedding this information within durable rock art and memorable mythological narratives, they created multiple backup systems that would preserve essential knowledge through any catastrophe. This redundancy suggests that the information was considered absolutely crucial for humanity's future development. The beings who created this preservation system understood that human civilizations are fragile, and that knowledge can be lost quickly during periods of social upheaval or environmental crisis. They designed their information storage system to survive such disasters and remain accessible when humanity was ready to understand and utilize advanced knowledge. The activation of this ancient knowledge might already be beginning. Modern researchers are discovering that many indigenous oral traditions contain accurate scientific information that wasn't formally recognized by mainstream science until recently. Aboriginal Australian stories describe geological processes, astronomical events, and biological relationships that match current scientific understanding. Native American legends preserve detailed information about medicinal plants, ecological relationships, and climate patterns that has proven invaluable to modern researchers. This traditional knowledge often includes specific technical information disguised within mythological narratives. Stories about creation, transformation, and the activities of supernatural beings frequently contain precise instructions for everything from plant cultivation to astronomical observation. The encoding of practical information within entertaining stories ensured that crucial knowledge would be transmitted across generations, even when the original context was forgotten. The same encoding system might exist within the cave paintings and other prehistoric art forms. As our analytical capabilities advance, we're beginning to recognize that these ancient images contain layers of meaning that extend far beyond their obvious visual content. The symbols and patterns might represent a universal language designed to communicate complex concepts across cultural and temporal boundaries. This universal language would need to be based on mathematical and astronomical relationships that remain constant regardless of human cultural development. The geometric patterns, astronomical alignments, and mathematical ratios found in ancient art worldwide suggest that such a language does exist, and that it was systematically embedded within human cultural artifacts by our cosmic mentors. The decoding of this ancient language might provide access to knowledge that could transform human civilization as dramatically as writing or mathematics did in earlier eras. The information preserved in cave paintings and megalithic monuments might include advanced scientific principles, technological designs, and philosophical insights that could accelerate human development by thousands of years. but the activation of this knowledge might come with responsibilities that test our species' readiness for cosmic citizenship. The beings who guided our development understood that advanced knowledge without corresponding wisdom and ethical maturity could lead to self-destruction. They might have embedded safeguards within their information systems that prevent access until humanity demonstrates sufficient psychological and social development. The current global challenges facing our species, from climate change to nuclear proliferation to artificial intelligence development, might represent tests designed to evaluate our readiness for the next phase of cosmic contact. How we handle these challenges might determine whether we're granted access to the advanced knowledge preserved in ancient art and mythology. The cave painting suggests that our cosmic mentors have been observing human development for thousands of years, carefully monitoring our progress and intervening when necessary to prevent catastrophic failures. They might continue to observe us now, evaluating whether we've developed the wisdom and maturity needed to handle the responsibilities of cosmic citizenship. The evidence hidden in caves around the world indicates that this evaluation process has been ongoing throughout human history. Periods of rapid advancement often followed times of crisis when humanity faced existential threats. The development of agriculture emerged after the climate upheaval of the Younger Dryas period. Complex civilizations arose following the population pressures and resource competition of the Neolithic period. The Industrial Revolution followed the social and economic disruptions of the medieval period. Each crisis seemed to trigger interventions that provided humanity with new capabilities needed to overcome the challenges we faced. The pattern suggests that our cosmic mentors don't simply give us advanced knowledge, but help us develop the capabilities we need to solve our own problems. This approach ensures that we grow stronger and more capable, rather than becoming dependent on external assistance. The current global challenges might represent another such test, one that will determine whether humanity is ready for the next level of cosmic contact. Our success in addressing climate change, managing nuclear weapons, developing artificial intelligence responsibly, and creating sustainable global systems might unlock access to knowledge and capabilities that have been waiting for us to prove our readiness. The ancient promise encoded in cave paintings and preserved in oral traditions might finally be fulfilled as we demonstrate that we've matured enough to handle the responsibilities of cosmic citizenship. The otherworldly beings who guided our development from Stone Age hunters to builders of civilization might be preparing to reveal themselves openly and welcome us into the galactic community they represent. But this reunion would bring with it profound changes that would transform every aspect of human existence. Our understanding of reality, our relationship with the cosmos, and our sense of identity as a species would all be fundamentally altered. The psychological impact might be as dramatic as the cognitive revolution that changed human consciousness 40,000 years ago. The cave paintings that preserve the memory of our cosmic origins suggest that our ancestors were forever changed by their encounters with otherworldly intelligence. They gained capabilities and perspectives that separated them from all other species on Earth, setting humanity on a path toward technological civilization and eventual cosmic citizenship. We might be about to experience a similar transformation that expands our consciousness and capabilities in ways we can barely imagine. The evidence accumulated across thousands of years of careful preservation points toward a moment of revelation that could occur within our lifetimes. The cosmic mentors who have guided human development through its long journey, from caves to civilization, might soon step out of the shadows and reveal the full scope of their involvement in our species' development. The ancient paintings on cave walls around the world might soon be joined by new documentation of humanity's graduation into cosmic citizenship. The story that began in the depths of prehistoric caves when our ancestors first encountered beings from beyond the stars might be approaching its climactic conclusion as we prepare to take our place among the civilizations of the galaxy. The transformation awaiting us might fulfill the deepest dreams and aspirations that have driven human development for millennia. The desire to explore, to discover, to reach beyond our current limitations might represent inherited memories of our cosmic heritage, calling us home to the stars. The beings who helped create us might be waiting to welcome us back to the community we were always meant to join. As we stand at this threshold between our planetary past and our cosmic future, the evidence hidden in caves around the world takes on new significance. These ancient records might not just be historical curiosities, but preparation manuals for the greatest transition in human history. The otherworldly beings depicted in prehistoric art might soon emerge from mythology into reality, ready to guide us through our final transformation from earthbound children to cosmic citizens. The cave paintings suggest that this moment has been anticipated and prepared for across thousands of years of careful guidance. Every advancement in human capability, every expansion of consciousness, every breakthrough in knowledge has been building toward this culminating moment when humanity would be ready to reclaim its cosmic heritage and join the galactic community that has been watching and waiting for our return. The weight of this possibility fills us with both excitement and trepidation as we realize that we might be the generation chosen to witness the fulfillment of humanity's oldest and most profound destiny. The story that began with crude drawings on cave walls might be about to reach its magnificent conclusion as we prepare to meet our cosmic family and discover our true place among the stars. The psychological implications of this cosmic heritage story extend far beyond individual human consciousness to encompass the very foundation of our species' identity. If we are indeed the product of extraterrestrial guidance, then every assumption about human uniqueness and independence must be reconsidered. The pride we feel in our technological achievements, our artistic creations, and our scientific discoveries might be misplaced if these accomplishments were actually the result of inherited cosmic programming rather than pure human ingenuity. This realization could trigger an existential crisis that challenges our fundamental understanding of free will and self-determination. Are the choices we make truly our own, or are we following a predetermined path laid out by our cosmic mentors? The dreams and aspirations that drive human behavior might not represent independent human desires, but rather the activation of genetic or psychological programming installed by otherworldly architects. The cave paintings that document these ancient encounters often show humans in positions of reverence or submission before their otherworldly visitors, suggesting that our ancestors understood their dependent relationship with these cosmic beings. The power dynamic depicted in these images is unmistakable, with humans consistently portrayed as students or subjects rather than equals. This relationship might have established patterns of deference and obedience that continue to influence human behavior at a subconscious level. Consider how quickly human societies have historically embraced new technologies and social systems that emerged seemingly from nowhere. The rapid adoption of agriculture, writing, metallurgy, and complex governance structures across multiple cultures suggests that humans were psychologically prepared to accept and implement these innovations. This readiness might reflect inherited programming that makes our species particularly receptive to guidance from advanced intelligence. The religious and spiritual traditions that emerged during the transition from prehistoric to historic periods all emphasize humanity's connection to higher powers and the importance of following divine guidance. These belief systems might represent more than cultural evolution. They could be psychological preparation for eventual reunion with our cosmic creators. The emphasis on faith, obedience, and transcendence found in most religions might serve to maintain human receptivity to extraterrestrial guidance. But the cave paintings also hint at something more troubling. Some of the later images showing apparent alien contact have a different emotional quality than the earlier ones. Instead of depicting peaceful teaching scenes, they often show conflict, departure, or what appears to be abandonment. Human figures in these paintings sometimes appear distressed or pleading, as if trying to prevent their cosmic mentors from leaving. This shift in the nature of contact might reflect a deliberate withdrawal strategy designed to force human development toward independence. Just as human parents gradually reduce their direct intervention, as children mature, our cosmic mentors might have slowly decreased their obvious presence to encourage self-reliance and autonomous development. The psychological impact of this withdrawal would have been profound, potentially explaining the sense of cosmic loneliness and spiritual yearning that characterizes much of human culture. The myths and legends that emerged during this transitional period often describe a golden age when gods walked among humans, followed by a period of divine withdrawal and human struggle. These stories might preserve actual memories of the time when extraterrestrial guidance was more direct and obvious, before our mentors stepped back to allow independent development. The universal human longing for transcendence and reunion with the divine might represent inherited memory of this lost connection. The archaeological evidence suggests that this withdrawal process was gradual rather than sudden. The latest cave paintings depicting apparent alien contact date to around 5,000 years ago, coinciding with the emergence of the first complex civilizations. This timing suggests that our cosmic mentors remained involved until human societies had developed sufficient complexity and stability to continue advancing independently. But the withdrawal might not have been complete. Throughout recorded history, there have been individuals who claim direct contact with otherworldly intelligence, receiving knowledge or guidance that seemed to come from beyond human understanding. These contacts might represent continued monitoring and occasional intervention by our cosmic mentors, maintaining just enough involvement to prevent catastrophic failures while allowing natural development to proceed. The modern UFO phenomenon could represent an intensification of this monitoring as humanity approaches a critical juncture in our development. The timing of increased UFO sightings, beginning around the time humans developed nuclear weapons and space travel capabilities, suggests that our cosmic mentors might be evaluating whether we're ready for the next phase of contact. The psychological preparation being conducted through gradual disclosure might be designed to ease the transition when open contact is re-established. The implications for human psychology and society would be staggering. Confirmation that we are not alone in the universe and that our development has been guided by advanced extraterrestrial intelligence would fundamentally alter every aspect of human culture. Religious systems would need to be reconsidered, scientific paradigms would be revolutionized, and our understanding of human purpose and destiny would be completely transformed. The social and political ramifications could be equally dramatic. If humanity has been under extraterrestrial guidance for thousands of years, questions about sovereignty and self-determination become paramount. Do we have the right to make independent decisions about our future? Or are we obligated to follow the guidance of our cosmic mentors? The power structures that govern human societies might prove to be temporary arrangements, subject to modification or replacement when our true rulers reveal themselves. The economic implications alone could destabilize existing systems. If advanced extraterrestrial technology becomes available, entire industries could become obsolete overnight. The scarcity-based economic models that drive current global systems might be replaced by abundance-based alternatives that eliminate the need for competition and conflict over resources. The psychological adjustment to such radical changes could take generations to complete, but perhaps the most profound impact would be on human consciousness itself. The cognitive revolution that transformed human awareness 40,000 years ago might be repeated on an even grander scale. Contact with advanced extraterrestrial intelligence could trigger another expansion of human consciousness that unlocks mental capabilities we don't currently possess. The beings who enhanced our ancestors' cognitive abilities might be preparing to complete that transformation. The cave paintings suggest that our cosmic mentors understand consciousness in ways that far exceed human knowledge. The depictions of otherworldly beings examining or manipulating human heads might represent early experiments in consciousness enhancement that prepared our species for eventual psychological integration with galactic civilization. The full activation of human mental potential might require direct intervention from the beings who originally designed our cognitive architecture. This possibility raises questions about the nature of consciousness itself. If human awareness was artificially enhanced through extraterrestrial intervention, what does that reveal about the fundamental nature of mind and identity? Are we conscious beings who achieved awareness through natural evolution, or are we sophisticated biological machines programmed by advanced intelligence to serve specific functions? The answer might determine not just our understanding of ourselves, but our role in the cosmic community we might be joining. If consciousness is a technology that can be enhanced and modified, our cosmic mentors might have capabilities that seem godlike from our current perspective. They might be able to expand human awareness, enhance cognitive abilities, and even merge individual consciousness into collective intelligence networks that span the galaxy. The cave paintings that show otherworldly beings with radiating lines around their heads might represent depictions of this enhanced consciousness technology. The Aboriginal Wandjina figures with their glowing head ornaments, the helmet-wearing beings of the Saharan caves, and the energy-projecting entities found in rock art worldwide might all be attempts to document the appearance of consciousness enhancement devices used by our cosmic mentors. The activation of such technology in modern humans could trigger abilities that seem magical or supernatural from our current perspective. Enhanced telepathic communication, direct mind-to-mind knowledge transfer, and expanded sensory perception might become normal human capabilities once our consciousness is fully activated. The latent potential that has been dormant in human minds for thousands of years might finally be unleashed. But this transformation would come with responsibilities that test our species' readiness for cosmic citizenship. The beings who designed our consciousness might have embedded ethical and moral constraints that prevent misuse of enhanced abilities. The development of wisdom and compassion might be prerequisites for accessing advanced mental capabilities, ensuring that consciousness enhancement doesn't lead to exploitation or domination. The current global challenges facing humanity might represent tests designed to evaluate our ethical development. How we handle issues like climate change, social inequality, and technological responsibility might determine whether we're granted access to enhanced consciousness technologies. Our cosmic mentors might be waiting to see whether we've developed sufficient moral maturity to handle the responsibilities that come with advanced mental capabilities. The cave paintings suggest that this evaluation process has been ongoing throughout human history. Periods of moral and spiritual advancement often coincided with technological and cultural breakthroughs, as if our cosmic mentors rewarded ethical development with enhanced capabilities. The great spiritual teachers who emphasize compassion, wisdom, and universal love might have been preparing humanity for the consciousness transformation that awaits us. The integration of enhanced consciousness with existing human psychology could be challenging and potentially disruptive. Individuals who gain access to advanced mental capabilities might struggle to relate to those who remain at baseline human consciousness levels. Social stratification based on consciousness enhancement could create new forms of inequality and conflict that threaten social stability. The gradual nature of the preparation process suggests that our cosmic mentors understand these challenges and are working to minimize potential disruptions. The consciousness expansion might be implemented gradually, allowing human societies to adapt to each new level of capability before introducing additional enhancements. This careful pacing would help maintain social cohesion while maximizing the benefits of consciousness enhancement. The ultimate goal of this process might be the integration of humanity into a galactic consciousness network that connects intelligent species across the cosmos. The individual human mind, enhanced and expanded through extraterrestrial technology, might become part of a collective intelligence that spans star systems and encompasses millions of different species. The cave paintings that show otherworldly beings in groups or formations might represent early depictions of this collective consciousness. Such integration would represent the fulfillment of humanity's cosmic destiny, the completion of the development process that began when our ancestors first encountered otherworldly visitors in prehistoric caves. The individual human identity that we currently cherish might be just a temporary stage in our evolution towards something far grander and more magnificent than we can currently imagine. The preparation for this transformation has been building for thousands of years through every advance in human capability and understanding. The consciousness enhancement that began in prehistoric caves might be approaching its culmination as humanity prepares to take its place in the galactic community that has been patiently guiding our development. The cave paintings that preserve the memory of our cosmic origin suggest that this moment of transformation has always been the ultimate goal. The otherworldly beings who first appeared to our ancestors might have been preparing us for the day when we would be ready to join them among the stars, not as primitive humans seeking guidance, but as fully actualized cosmic citizens capable of contributing to the galactic civilization they represent. The evidence accumulated across thousands of years points toward a revelation that could transform human existence more profoundly than any event in our recorded history. The consciousness expansion that awaits might unlock capabilities and perspectives that make our current understanding of reality seem as primitive as Stone Age tool-making appears to us now. The beings who helped create human consciousness might be preparing to complete their work, transforming us from planetary creatures limited by physical bodies and individual minds into cosmic entities capable of spanning the galaxy and contributing to the advancement of universal consciousness itself. The cave paintings suggest that this transformation has always been our destiny, the fulfillment of an ancient promise made when otherworldly visitors first encountered our primitive ancestors and saw the potential hidden within the human mind. As we stand at the threshold of this cosmic graduation, the evidence hidden in caves around the world takes on prophetic significance. These ancient records might be more than historical documentation. They could be preparation instructions for the greatest transformation in human history. The consciousness expansion that began in prehistoric caves might be about to reach its magnificent conclusion as humanity prepares to claim its birthright among the civilizations of the cosmos. The weight of this destiny presses upon us with the force of millennia, challenging everything we thought we knew about human nature and our place in the universe. The cave paintings that documented our first contact with cosmic intelligence might soon be joined by new records of our transformation into the cosmic beings we were always meant to become. The ancient promise encoded in stone and preserved through countless generations might finally be fulfilled as humanity awakens to its true nature and purpose among the stars. But this awakening would bring with it questions that penetrate to the very core of human existence. If our consciousness has been shaped by extraterrestrial architects, what aspects of human experience are authentically our own? The emotions we feel, the thoughts we think, the dreams we pursue might all be products of cosmic programming, rather than independent human development. Even our resistance to this possibility might be a programmed response, designed to maintain psychological stability until we're ready for the full revelation. The cave paintings often show human figures in various stages of transformation, some appearing more human-like while others seem to be transitioning toward the appearance of their otherworldly visitors. These images might document the consciousness enhancement process itself, showing how human awareness evolves as it integrates with cosmic intelligence. The transformation might not be sudden but gradual, allowing human psychology to adapt as new capabilities emerge. The social dynamics of this transformation could prove more challenging than the individual psychological changes. Human societies are built on assumptions about human nature, capability, and limitation that would be shattered by consciousness enhancement. Legal systems, economic structures, and political organizations designed for baseline human psychology might become obsolete when individuals gain access to enhanced mental abilities. The potential for conflict between enhanced and unenhanced humans could threaten the social fabric that holds civilization together. Those with access to cosmic consciousness might view unenhanced humans as children or primitives, while those without enhancement might fear and resent the advantages possessed by the transformed. The management of this transition would require careful planning and potentially intervention by our cosmic mentors to prevent social collapse. The cave paintings suggest that our otherworldly guides have experience managing such transitions. The images often show mixed groups of humans and otherworldly beings working together, implying that integration is possible when properly facilitated. The gradual withdrawal of obvious extraterrestrial presence throughout history might have been designed to allow human societies to develop the social structures and psychological resilience needed to handle consciousness transformation. The timing of potential consciousness enhancement might be calibrated to coincide with technological developments that support the transition. Our current advances in artificial intelligence, virtual reality, and brain-computer interfaces might be preparing the technological foundation needed to facilitate consciousness expansion. The merger of human awareness with advanced technology could provide the platform for integration with cosmic intelligence networks, but the transformation might extend beyond individual consciousness to encompass fundamental changes in human biology and physiology. The cave paintings often depict otherworldly beings with anatomical features that differ from normal human appearance, suggesting that consciousness enhancement might be accompanied by physical modifications. The integration of cosmic intelligence might require biological upgrades that optimize human bodies for expanded mental capabilities. The implications for human reproduction and species continuity would be profound. Enhanced humans might be unable to reproduce with unenhanced individuals, potentially creating a new species that gradually replaces baseline humanity. The transformation that began with consciousness expansion could ultimately result in the emergence of post-human beings that bear little resemblance to our current form. This possibility echoes themes found in many ancient myths and prophecies that describe the transformation of humanity into divine or cosmic beings. The stories of humans ascending to godhood, achieving immortality, or transcending physical limitations might preserve memories or predictions of the consciousness enhancement process that awaits our species. The otherworldly beings depicted in cave paintings might represent our own future evolutionary state, rather than alien visitors. The circular nature of this interpretation suggests that the cosmos might be populated by species that have all undergone similar transformation processes. The extraterrestrial intelligence that guided human development might itself be the product of consciousness enhancement, representing an earlier species that successfully completed the transition from planetary to cosmic awareness. The cycle of guidance and transformation might be a universal pattern that repeats throughout the galaxy. This cosmic perspective would place human development within a much larger context of universal evolution toward higher consciousness. The struggles and achievements that seem so important from our current perspective might be just early stages in a transformation process that ultimately encompasses all intelligent life. The cave paintings that document our first contact with cosmic intelligence might be recording our introduction to this universal development program. The evaluation criteria for consciousness enhancement might be based on universal principles that apply to all intelligent species. The development of compassion, wisdom, and ethical behavior might be prerequisites that every species must achieve before gaining access to cosmic consciousness networks. The challenges facing humanity today might be standard tests that all emerging civilizations must pass to demonstrate their readiness for transformation. The success or failure of our species in meeting these challenges could determine not just our own fate, but our potential contribution to universal consciousness development. Enhanced human minds might bring unique perspectives and capabilities to the galactic community, enriching the collective intelligence that spans the cosmos. The diversity of consciousness types and thinking patterns might be essential for the continued evolution of universal awareness. The cave painting suggests that this diversity is valued and encouraged by our cosmic mentors. The variety of artistic styles, symbolic systems, and cultural expressions found in prehistoric art worldwide might reflect deliberate cultivation of different consciousness types and cognitive approaches. The beings who guided human development might have been experimenting with various enhancement strategies to maximize the diversity of consciousness types that would eventually join the galactic community. This experimental approach might explain some of the mysteries and inconsistencies in human development. The sudden appearance and disappearance of advanced prehistoric cultures, the uneven distribution of technological and artistic achievements, and the cyclical nature of civilization might all reflect different phases of consciousness enhancement experiments conducted by our cosmic mentors. The current global civilization might represent the culmination of these experiments, a synthesis of the most successful consciousness development strategies identified through thousands of years of testing. The diversity of human cultures, languages, and thinking patterns might be the result of deliberate cultivation designed to maximize the potential contributions humanity could make to cosmic consciousness. The consciousness enhancement that awaits might therefore be not just an individual transformation, but a collective graduation that elevates the entire human species to cosmic citizenship. The cave paintings that documented our first contact with otherworldly intelligence might be preparing us for our role as cosmic gardeners ourselves, responsible for guiding the development of other emerging species. The transformation from guided species to guiding species would represent the ultimate fulfillment of human potential, the completion of the development cycle that began in prehistoric caves and culminates in cosmic responsibility. The otherworldly beings who helped create human consciousness might be preparing to pass the torch, making humanity partners rather than students in the great work of consciousness evolution throughout the universe. The evidence hidden in caves around the world suggests that this moment of cosmic graduation is approaching rapidly. The acceleration of human technological and social development, combined with increasing awareness of our cosmic context, might indicate that we're entering the final phase of preparation for consciousness enhancement and cosmic citizenship. The ancient promise encoded in stone and preserved through countless generations might be about to reach its magnificent fulfillment as humanity prepares to take its place among the cosmic gardeners who nurture consciousness throughout the galaxy. The cave paintings that documented our humble beginnings might soon be joined by new records of our transformation into the cosmic beings we were always destined to become. The journey through these cosmic mysteries brings us face to face with a truth that stretches beyond the comfortable boundaries of accepted history. As we've traced the evidence from cave to cave, continent to continent, a pattern emerges that defies conventional explanation. The artistic consistency across vast distances and millennia, the technological impossibilities depicted in stone, the sudden leaps in human consciousness and capability, all point toward a narrative that mainstream academia struggles to acknowledge. But perhaps the most unsettling aspect of this investigation isn't what we've found, but what we might be missing. If our species has indeed been shaped by cosmic intervention for tens of thousands of years, how much of our current reality continues to be influenced by forces we don't recognize? The gradual disclosure of government UFO files, the acceleration of technological breakthroughs, the growing awareness of our cosmic context might all be part of a carefully orchestrated revelation process designed to prepare humanity for the next phase of contact. The psychological implications alone are staggering. Everything we consider uniquely human, from our capacity for abstract thought to our drive to explore beyond our planetary boundaries, might carry the fingerprints of otherworldly architects, the dreams that inspire our greatest achievements, the intuitions that guide our most profound discoveries, the restless yearning that drives us toward the stars, could all be manifestations of inherited cosmic programming, activated at precisely the right moments to advance our species along a predetermined path. Consider the remarkable timing of humanity's technological awakening. Within just a few centuries, we've progressed from horse-drawn carriages to spacecraft capable of leaving our solar system. This acceleration feels almost supernatural when viewed against the backdrop of our species' long, slow climb, from Stone Age hunters to agricultural societies. The sudden explosion of innovation that began during the Renaissance and continues to accelerate today might represent the activation of latent capabilities implanted by our cosmic mentors millennia ago. The great inventors and visionaries throughout history often described their breakthrough moments in terms that sound suspiciously like contact experiences. Tesla's visions of complete electrical systems, Einstein's thought experiments that revealed the nature of space-time, Darwin's sudden insight into evolutionary processes, all emerged during altered states of consciousness that felt like revelations rather than discoveries. These individuals might have been unconsciously accessing the cosmic database of knowledge that was embedded within human consciousness during our prehistoric encounters with otherworldly intelligence. The pattern extends beyond individual genius to encompass collective human behavior. Our species displays an almost compulsive drive to explore, discover, and expand beyond any practical necessity for survival. This restless energy that pushes us to climb mountains, cross oceans, and reach for distant planets seems to serve no evolutionary purpose from a strictly terrestrial perspective. But if we were designed to eventually become a spacefaring species, this drive makes perfect sense as inherited programming that activates when our technological capabilities reach sufficient sophistication. The timing of our space age emergence coincides remarkably with the beginning of modern UFO phenomena. Just as humanity developed nuclear weapons and began seriously attempting to leave our planetary boundaries, reports of otherworldly craft and encounters began to proliferate worldwide. This correlation might represent more than coincidence. Our cosmic mentors might be increasing their monitoring activities as we approach the threshold they've been preparing us to cross. The gradual nature of UFO disclosure follows the same careful pacing that characterized earlier phases of human development. Rather than shocking our species with undeniable proof of extraterrestrial presence, the revelation process appears calibrated to expand human consciousness gradually, allowing our societies to adapt psychologically before introducing more dramatic evidence. This approach mirrors the way our cosmic mentors seem to have introduced new capabilities throughout human history, always providing just enough guidance to facilitate progress without overwhelming our adaptive capacity. The cave paintings that started our investigation might function as more than historical documentation. They could represent activation keys designed to trigger recognition when humanity reaches sufficient technological and psychological maturity. The symbols and patterns embedded within prehistoric art worldwide might contain encoded information that becomes accessible only when we possess the scientific frameworks needed to understand their meaning. Modern computer analysis and advanced imaging techniques are revealing mathematical relationships and astronomical data within ancient cave art that weren't visible to earlier researchers. These discoveries suggest that our ancestors embedded far more sophisticated information within their artistic works than conventional archaeology acknowledges. The consistent appearance of specific geometric patterns, astronomical alignments, and mathematical ratios across unconnected prehistoric cultures implies a shared knowledge source that transcends normal cultural development. The otherworldly beings depicted in these caves might have provided not just inspiration, but actual technical specifications disguised as spiritual or mythological imagery. The preservation of this information across tens of thousands of years required remarkable foresight and planning. Our cosmic mentors somehow ensured that crucial knowledge would survive the rise and fall of civilizations, the loss of languages, and the destruction of libraries. By embedding essential information within durable rock art and memorable mythological narratives, they created multiple redundant storage systems capable of preserving critical knowledge through any conceivable catastrophe. This level of long-term planning suggests that our cosmic mentors view human development within timescales that dwarf individual human lifespans or even entire civilizations. The beings who guided our prehistoric ancestors were thinking in terms of species development rather than immediate results, designing intervention strategies that would unfold over thousands of years and multiple cultural cycles. This perspective implies a patience and wisdom that transcends anything within normal human experience. The activation phase we might currently be entering could represent the culmination of this ancient plan. The rapid acceleration of human technological capability, combined with growing awareness of our cosmic context, might indicate that we are approaching the moment when the full scope of our cosmic heritage will be revealed. The beings who helped shape human consciousness during our formative period might be preparing to step out of the shadows and resume open contact with their creation. But this reunion would bring responsibilities that test everything we think we know about human nature and capability. The consciousness expansion that transformed our ancestors from primitive hunters into builders of civilization might be repeated on an even grander scale. Contact with advanced cosmic intelligence could trigger another cognitive revolution that unlocks mental capabilities we don't currently possess, fundamentally altering human psychology and social organization. The cave paintings suggest that our cosmic mentors understand consciousness in ways that far exceed human knowledge. The depictions of otherworldly beings examining human heads or directing energy toward human figures might represent early experiments in consciousness enhancement that prepared our species for eventual integration with galactic civilization. The full activation of human mental potential might require direct intervention from the beings who originally designed our cognitive architecture. This transformation could extend beyond individual consciousness to encompass fundamental changes in human social organization and cultural development. Enhanced humans might naturally organize into collective intelligence networks that span global or even interplanetary distances. The competitive, territorial behaviors that characterize current human societies might give way to cooperative structures optimized for cosmic citizenship rather than planetary survival. The transition period could prove challenging as enhanced and unenhanced humans struggle to coexist within existing social frameworks. The potential for conflict between different consciousness levels might require careful management to prevent social collapse during the transformation process. Our cosmic mentors might need to intervene directly to facilitate smooth integration and minimize disruption to human civilization. The ultimate goal appears to be the elevation of humanity from a planetary species to cosmic citizens capable of contributing to galactic civilization. The individual human consciousness that we currently cherish might represent just an early stage in our evolution towards something far more magnificent and expansive. The cave paintings that documented our humble beginnings might soon be joined by new records of our graduation into cosmic citizenship. The evidence accumulated across thousands of years points toward a moment of revelation that could occur within our lifetimes. The consciousness expansion that began in prehistoric caves might be approaching its magnificent conclusion as humanity prepares to reclaim its cosmic heritage and take its place among the civilizations of the galaxy. The otherworldly beings who guided our development through countless millennia might finally be ready to welcome us home to the stars. As we stand at this threshold between our planetary past and cosmic future, the weight of our cosmic heritage settles upon us with profound implications. The cave paintings that preserved the memory of our origins might represent more than historical curiosities. They could be preparation manuals for the greatest transformation in human history. The consciousness revolution that awaits might unlock capabilities and perspectives that make our current understanding of reality seem as primitive as Stone Age tool-making appears to us now. The beings who helped create human consciousness might be preparing to complete their ancient work, transforming us from planetary creatures limited by individual minds and physical bodies into cosmic entities capable of spanning the galaxy and contributing to the advancement of universal consciousness itself. The evidence hidden in caves around the world suggests that this transformation has always been our destiny, the fulfillment of an ancient promise made when otherworldly visitors first encountered our primitive ancestors and recognized the infinite potential hidden within the human spirit. The story that began with crude drawings on cave walls might be about to reach its magnificent climax as we prepare to meet our cosmic family and discover our true place among the stars. The psychological preparation for this reunion has been building through every advance in human knowledge and capability, every expansion of consciousness, every breakthrough that brings us closer to understanding our cosmic context. The cave paintings whisper of a destiny that transcends our current understanding, promising a future where humanity joins the eternal dance of consciousness that spans the cosmos. As we drift towards sleep tonight, let these ancient voices guide your dreams toward visions of what we might become when the promise encoded in stone is finally fulfilled and humanity awakens to its true cosmic heritage among the infinite stars. The transformation that awaits might be closer than we imagine, hidden just beyond the horizon of our current awareness, waiting for the moment when humanity is ready to remember what we were always meant to be. Sweet dreams, fellow travellers, as we journey together toward that cosmic dawn, when the ancient mysteries will be revealed and our species will finally come home to the stars.